Hi everyone, welcome back for this week's. We're going to talk about chapter 9, implement time management strategies. So this chapter is a little different. It's kind of swaying away from digital marketing. It's a fairly short chapter, but I honestly thought about skipping it, but I think it's really important that you learn the material in this chapter. It is going to cover time management and a process for conforming your whole work life and your daily life around like a less stress, really organized way to work. So, we're going to talk about an 8 step process for time management, the importance for making time for digital marketing tactics, how to balance a work life and personal life effectively, and then evaluating and achieving goals in a business. So, Ben Franklin, I love this photo of him. He says, "You may delay, but time will not." And I think that's really important going into this chapter because we may if you I'm not one to procrastinate. It really stresses me out to procrastinate. However, most of my family, my friends all love procrastinating. So he's saying that you may procrastinate, but like time's not just stopping because you are. So that's really what Ben's saying. So we're going to talk about step 1 in the 8 step process. And it is making time. So know when to say no. I have the hardest time saying no to somebody. I tend to take on projects that are possibly too big for my capabilities. I always get everything done, but it might cause me to not sleep for like 20 billion days. It is easy to get swept along in someone else's priorities, but remember that's not necessarily your priority. So if it's a part of your job description or being a student, of course, do it. But also know like when you need to delegate. Um, Delegating as a manager, you all are probably going to have higher management positions, and that is really important. Than when knowing to say no to someone, to an idea, to work, or to delegating. So your author suggests using a weekly planner to mark out. She says to mark out your breaks, your lunch hour, when you have time to exercise, personal appointments, phone calls, emails. Emails is such a big one. Small to do items that are quick and easy to do. Large projects that require time to focus on a bigger goal. Font to forget not the body of like the ad hoc time. These are unexpected joys. Um, Writing down your known meetings or appointments and to see where you are at. So, your author says to look at this template, and this is her template, and she says to write this down. Now, this is a European textbook, and their work days are a little bit different than ours. Majority of you all will probably work 8 to 5, not 9 to 5. This is no more Dolly Parton working 9 to 5. But this is something really good. You can take this template and you could add in like an 8 a.m. and then just shift that row up. But it's saying like, okay, write down exactly what you're doing at this time and like each day. And then schedule out your lunch. Give yourself an hour for lunch. Normally, most facilities full time will let you do that, but just kind of know exactly what you're doing. So she says if you don't have any ad hoc time, which is like your add ins, then you are doing too much and you will have to give yourself something to give. So if someone asks you something, never give your precious time away, but also look at the ad hoc time. You need time for yourself. You need time to do little things, and life is unexpected, right? And you want to have fun, not just work all the time. So make sure you allot that time. If it is a priority, then put it in the week. If it's not, move on to something later in your schedule. She's saying if somebody asks you to do something and you don't want to say no, if it's a priority, try to fit it in that week. If not, then maybe say like, "Hey, like next week I can get this done by then." Always ask if there are deadlines to see if a person wants it done or actually needs it done. There is a difference. Start thinking about what you would want to spend time doing and what you don't. You need to take out time for yourself. That is so important. Especially as a manager, I feel like a lot of people can get burnt out on their job. You study and go to school for this amazing job, right? And then you get there and then you're so motivated and excited for like a few years, and then you kind of just like overwork yourself. It's really important to give yourself time to just live. Delegate and exchange. So create a list of things that you need to accomplish for a week, and then the task that you don't want to do or seem better for somebody else, delegate those tasks. If it's something you don't want to do, that doesn't necessarily mean it's like the worst task, right? It probably means maybe it's something that you do all the time and it's not really adding any value to bettering yourself. And maybe it can be done by somebody else that actually will be valuable to them to know um, how to do a task that you've been doing for years, but it's something new that they can add to their skill set. Try to take on something new each week for more experience. It's always good to have a challenge, and it's always good to add something to yourself that makes you more valuable as an employee, and kind of motivates you to do something different. Create headspace. This is the art of being bored that will make you more productive. So, the author is saying to block out time for yourself, and from your author's experience, it is when it starts making your ideas flow better. That is important to just kind of meditate on, like focusing on just yourself, and then like all of a sudden, all these ideas come to you once you just chill. So all these work ideas, digital marketing campaigns, basically everything that you didn't think you could think of will come to you basically during that time. It's crazy. Sit down and do nothing and then jot down the feelings and thoughts that you have. And this is when you kind of get into your zone. It's awesome. The second step in this process is to be time savvy, not a time waster. So, the first thing that she wants to talk about is emails. Emails are so stressful when you get into the work environment. And it's because you just get so many a day. It's not necessarily like receiving an email. When you first start a job, you get really excited to get like these emails from your boss, your manager, maybe a CEO, or somebody that works for you. And you get really excited. I have seen when I grew up, my mother worked at a company who always sent her email after email. She's like one of those people in her phone that would say 20,000 emails. And I'm just like, that literally gives me so much anxiety because she has so many emails that she's never even opened. So the author says to never delete any email. Um, and I think that's very valuable. My personal tip is to put them in folders. I categorize my emails based on, is it a personal email? If it is, and is it going in my family email? Is it going into my personal life email? I have a shopping email. Or is it a work email? And then based on the classes I teach at ETSU, I will put it into different categories, like for per class, based on spring or fall, what year it was, so that way I can go back and refer to an email if I need to do that. Don't let your workday be driven by emails. The author says to set aside at least 3 times a day to check and respond to emails, if not less. She says at like 3 at the most. I would say 2, but she says 3, so maybe morning, after lunch, before you leave. That would be a really good recommendation. Try using autofilter on incoming emails, and it filters out all emails by rules and contact. I am such a I hate getting spam. Like I do not like having somebody getting an email. ETSU has had a couple of people send out emails to employees saying that they're like my boss and it's not them. So I have ETSU setting to do autofilter. A little bit more on this is meetings and calls. So the author says meetings and calls are the biggest bugbear in the work life, and even more so to request on like a meeting for coffee. So set aside time to return calls that require verbal response if the call or message was not expected. This cuts down on time wasted throughout the day answering other individuals. You need to set a time for yourself first and your work, and then, have a maybe like an hour dedicated to answering other people. This cuts down on time wasted throughout the day. It is efficient communication. It has advantages such as the fact that a conversation carries more enthusiasm and energy. So you're not answering calls all day long, right? So if you have that whole hour to do it, you're probably more enthusiastic than spending 8 hours. People who set aside time tend to be more engaged in the phone call. And you can also let people text you so you can see and determine if the message is urgent enough to respond immediately. Okay, third step, make sure to laser focus on achieving one goal rather than trying to do everything at once. That can be very hard. And as a college student, I understand when I say this, you're like, okay, well, Hannah, I have this class, this class, this class, and this class, and they all expect me to do um, various different goals and projects. And then I'm also trying to achieve my life goal and my career goal and blah, 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 blah. So yes, it is easy to get excited about various ideas, projects, but focus on the goals. I would go for short term goals first and tackle those. So, your class projects, set deadlines. That is really key. If you are a social browser, then a great tool is to use Google Keep. It will capture what's on your mind. It keeps added notes, lists, videos, photos, audios, basically everything you can think of. Google Keep will do it, and it'll kind of help you achieve your goals one at a time. A digital marketing report by Hootsuite and We Are Social revealed that the average internet user spends more than a quarter of their life on the internet. That's a lot of time on the internet. The same report further shows that consumers are online an average of 6 hours and 42 minutes a day. So let's think about that. Um, you're basically wasting your life away on the internet. If you've ever monitored your time spent online, then you would be appalled at how much time you dedicate out of your valuable life to like a wireless device. And I know right now you're thinking, well, it's kind of like what I'm doing right now. Like I'm online listening to this video. Well, this is different. You're really educating yourself on a goal that is your career, whether it's digital marketing, business management. That is what you're doing right now. But like looking on social media, just shopping around. I have a really bad habit. I was a merchandising student in undergrad. I have a really bad habit of shopping online, and I don't even buy. I usually just make like all these big lists on Pinterest and Amazon. I move cities, and so I now have new lists on like Pottery Barn and Kirkland's, and that's probably where those 6 hours and 42 minutes of my day are going. However, if you have the new update on the iPhone, then you can actually track your screen time. I think that's really good to do, because I hear a lot of people go around and, especially with like projects, at work, at school, and they tell me that they don't have enough time in the day to do this. If you go and look at your time you spend online, um, if it's more than honestly like 3 hours a day, you definitely had enough time to do that, to do this project. So really kind of prioritize, focus and look at your digital distractions. Step 4 is to organize your work environment. A third of your life will be spent at work. A third of your life. That's 90,000 hours over the course of an average lifetime. It's a lot of time. So, in terms of a working environment, the author states to do a master list. It's a to do list. It uses a list of daily ideas to jot down and write down tasks that need to be completed. You need to use a digital calendar so it'll help you receive alerts on your wireless device. If you had access to my phone calendar, you would know that I literally plan everything to the minute. And I put in addresses and I invite people if it's something that needs to have like friends or family invited to. So organize your work environment and it'll actually become more easily managed. Step 5 is to reduce your personal stress. So, stress is a huge contributor to disease and illness, and and less stress, you will have more time and you are more productive. So, each person is different, but it is important to know what makes you sane and what adds to your worry or stress. The author states that her stress comes from working close to holidays or at home. And what she means by that is when you get time off from holidays, like you're trying to hurry and get everything done because you want to be at home. And then also when you come back, there's so many things that you've missed because you were in a holiday. Um, so figure out steps, and if you read your textbook, she has ways that she reduces stress based on that factor. But kind of figure out what gives you like anxiety or worry and at work or at home, and work around that. Figure out how you can cope or how you can resolve that problem, and it'll give you more time and you'll be more productive. And then you'll become more motivated, which is step 6. So, working on 2 or 3 big projects at a time. like on the go, not at once, or not one, because you split your time across several. So she's saying like to work on two or three big projects, because if you work on one, you might get burnout. And if you can focus on two or three projects, you can actually rotate and motivate yourself based on this other project. And it'll give you more motivation on the other one. And also, having one project is all encompassing, but you may feel everything relies on it. So, again, any obstacles along the way that make you feel less impactful, um, you need to do two or three other things to move to. She suggests, and I also suggest, setting deadlines. It is always advantageous to have realistic deadlines, regardless of the task or project at hand. Setting clear deadlines will help you prioritize and dedicate your time. Furthermore, if you work and collaborate with a team environment, then you will actually have a good signal for your colleagues to have a proposed task completion date. That is so big, even in group projects. Please set deadlines for yourself.